David Ben-Gurion thought that the future of this country would be in its brain power, because we had no natural resources aside from brain power, and in that context the future would be in science, and therefore a relatively significant percentage of the government budget went into R&D.
Welcome to the Hebrew Reality School. It's a pleasure having you here this morning.
We want each and every student of us to go out of this room and to see the world with glasses of an engineer.
You have the switch, you pull the switch, and then you leave the robot.
One thing that I heard before I came here is that it's like MIT.
Better. For example, MIT doesn't have a faculty of education in science and technology. The Technion has.
The schools that we've talked with so far have been doing a lot of robotics, and I'm trying to figure out how I can fit a small part of that into my curriculum.
Kids learning about robotics can help them to understand the value in computer science. They're then able to take the content that they learn and understand it at a deeper level because they're taking it from a problem-based approach as opposed to just for the sake of the content or the sake of technology.
Because they're using real parts, everything is much larger scale. And actually it's interesting because in a sense it's more realistic.
Computer scientist has to talk computers.
I don't know a lot of words in English, but...
When I see this, I understand what it is. You can show me what tools they use to teach. My office looks very much like this. Yes.
It's interesting the way some of it links together because the teachers here are mechanical engineers who apparently couldn't find jobs in mechanical engineering.
Everything is like on the walls and very visible, so the kids would have an opportunity to build and play with and like make mistakes and correct their mistakes, which I think we're missing a lot of at my school, so I'd like to see more rooms like that.
It's awesome that they put it together like that.
Jerusalem actually receives the same annual rainfall as London, except it comes down in a month and a half. And the trick is to capture it.
The luxury of water that we have every single day, you know, in the States, it's something that we take for granted.
You can take this back to class and say, okay, they did this 2,000 years ago. We have 2,000 years more of technology and knowledge now. What can you come up with now? Because the students that we teach are really the people that are going to be solving these problems in the future. They're going to be the politicians and the engineers of the future. So.
It looks like it's a projectile launcher of some form. This looks like it can slide up, so you hook that in, you pull it back, ratchet in here. We have such a ridiculous array of tools and toys that we could play with. But, you know, they could do it on simpler materials 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 years ago.
The first motivation for the modern archaeology is mostly religious.
The Jerusalem is a very holy land for the Muslims. This is number 2 and number 2 houses. The first house is to Mecca. but number 2 to Jerusalem.
This is where fighting happened, and this is where destruction happened, and this is where so many people lay claim to the same spaces. I mean, it certainly is very much in your face and makes it so much more real than hearing about it in the news and understanding it. I'm going to go back with a completely different perspective and a completely different understanding of the entire situation from both sides.
There were 3 themes so far. One is like the STEM education that we're here to explore, and then there's the ancient culture that we're looking at, and then there's the modern culture and the conflicts that are going on today.
We're facing Bethlehem. The government made the decision to build a security barrier in order to slow down, it's an obstacle, to slow down suicide bombers from entering into Israel. First of all, we look directly below us, and what you can see is that fence. The fence has those sticks, which are sensors.
It's been an amazing trip so far. It's opened my eyes to a lot of things that we read about in the paper, but you don't really realize what another country is like until you go there.
The thing that catches me the most is like the mindset that Israelis have about working from the ground up and utilizing all their resources. I think that we need to learn something from the Israeli people that, it's working.
Any teacher will learn more than they could ever imagine just by walking down the street and seeing the interactions.